back to Fire Princess Reviews. I'm Fire Princess Lily here to tell you about comics, cartoons, and other awesome nerd stuff. So, today we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel, but not the entirety of Captain Marvel, but just a little bit about her from the short 5-issue series, The Life of Captain Marvel. I decided to go with the Stan Lee cover for this presentation because it is stunning. Of course, as we all know and are very sad about, Stan Lee died last year. Very sad. I'm still very sad over it. But what Marvel did for like a couple of months is that every issue came out with a Stan Lee like memorial cover, like to memorialize Stan Lee and all the work that he did for Marvel. It's a shame they didn't do the same with Steve Ditko, but it's a different time than when Steve went, so there you go, there you have it. Maybe one day, we'll find out. So we're just really going to be talking about this particular story. Is it important to the movie that's coming out this Friday? I don't think so. I'm not a big YouTuber, I'm not a big review channel. I am a review channel, but not so big that I get like invited to screenings for these kinds of movies, so I don't know if this will be important to the character or not. I don't know what they're going to use as far as her story. So, but it might give you a little bit more to know about the character. We are going to talk a little bit like into like her past and stuff, because they did change a few things with this particular story. So let's talk about this this book. It was good. I liked it. It's not my favorite Captain Marvel story, but that's because I'm still processing the whole thing. Even though it ended a couple months ago and I've had time to digest it, it's still kind of it's an odd story. So Captain Marvel, also she used to be known as Miss Marvel and Warbird. Miss Marvel is currently a title held by Kamala Khan, who we've talked about previously on this channel. We love Kamala here. Yeah, so definitely always going to rep Kamala as Miss Marvel, but Carol took over the title of Captain Marvel when a Kree warrior named Mar-Vell died. She didn't take it over right away, but later on, he died because of cancer. He's never been resurrected. He's never come back in any kind of form because the writers at Marvel, or the people at Marvel in general, just feel like that resurrecting somebody who died because of cancer is really a disservice to the story that they told about this character. Like, that would feel not okay. So we're probably never going to see Mar-Vell ever again. So if you're hoping that one day he'll like pull the regular comic resurrection thing, it's been pretty well known that they don't want to undo cancer. So because cancer in the real world has such definitive tones. Not always for everybody, but it's a seriousness that is kind of different than, say, being blown apart by lasers, for example. Even Uncle Ben has been resurrected once. He actually came from a different timeline. It was super weird. So, everybody in comics gets resurrected except Mar-Vell. And, yeah. So, let's talk about this. So, the comic, this story starts off with Carol fighting alongside the Avengers, because she is an Avenger. Lots of stuff happened to where that wasn't a thing for a while, but we've come full circle, and she is an Avenger again. So, good for that. They're fighting just a couple of bad guys. Nobody, like, too amazing in retrospect, but it's a fight, and it's happening on Father's Day. Now, part of being a superhero, it seems, is having a off relationship with at least one, if not both parents. You know, death, estrangement, that sort of thing. Even Pa Kent died eventually. So, yeah. But Carol, she's remembering things about her father, because it is Father's Day, and we tend to think of our fathers on that day, no matter what kind of people they were. And as it turns out, Carol's dad sucked out loud. He was abusive, and he was alcoholic. We kind of already knew that he was an alcoholic, and probably could have gone full circle with that abusive part, but we knew he was an alcoholic because Carol was an alcoholic. It is a hereditary disease. So, not always, but it is kind of likely that if your parents or one parent was an alcoholic, you can develop the same taste. So that's kind of where Carol got it from. She got herself treated. She hasn't had a drink in comics in ages, even though there are times she really wants to. It's something that she's always kind of grappling with in the back of her mind. She's a very human character. Even more human, I guess, than she should be, considering the way that we believed her powers to have happened was a psychokinetic gene bomb by one of Marvel's villains. He got between it and her, and his powers kind of imprinted onto her. What people may not like about the life of Captain Marvel, I know that some people don't like this, but it's kind of hard to separate people who don't like it for its storytelling and people who don't like it because it's a Captain Marvel book, and Captain Marvel is one of those characters. I don't really want to get into that, so we're not going to get into that. So, in this book, they do kind of a retcon. It's no longer that the powers from Marvel imprinted onto Carol. Instead, it kind of helped her awaken powers that she already had, because as it turns out, her mother is a Kree warrior who was sent to the planet to do some kind of mission. It's never quite explicitly stated what her mission is. She's very cagey about it. But anyway, the comic opens up with this fight, and Carol's remembering the time that her dad abused her brothers, and so she's hitting the villains a little extra hard, which is never, ever a good thing for her to be hitting anybody harder than she has to. She's real powerful. And so even Tony's like, whoa, hey, how about you save some of that, for bad guy jail? They might want, her to come to them whole and not in pieces. He's like, do you need to go somewhere and clear your head? Get your mind right? And so she decides to go to New Haven, I believe. It's in North Connecticut. It's more so that it's always just New Haven's always just not Boston. Her family grew up in Boston, but every summer they went to a summer house in New Haven. Different rules, different things apply. And it's kind of like her home away from home, because that's where her family stays. At least during the summer. So she goes to talk with her family, try to get her head right. She gets into a fight with her brother, and he ends up getting into a car crash, which puts him into a coma and maybe might paralyze him for the rest of his life. It was bad. In the meantime, while she's helping out take care of her brother with her mother, because she doesn't want to leave her mother in that situation, even though they kind of grown apart, there's a little bit of an estrangedness there, due to the fact that Carol had actually run away from home due to stuff going on between her mother and her father, which was actually a part of her being half Kree that she didn't even know about. They were trying real hard to keep her feet on the ground, and all she wanted to do was run into space without knowing why she wanted that. It was just in her blood. So there has to be some kind of a superhero-y conflict in comics, regardless of what kind of story that we're telling here. So the story that can't just be Carol goes home to kind of get over the demons of her father, and then has to end up taking care of her brother due to him driving drunk and getting into a terrible accident that puts him into kind of a comatose state. Even if his eyes are open, he's not there. So Carol's going through stuff in her brother's room because her cat knocks over a box, and she discovers all these letters to some other woman that is apparently not her mother. At least that's how the notes read. I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. And so she doesn't know if she should tell her mom or not. Like, her dad's, he's dead. Like, he's been dead for a while. And no love for him. No love lost. No loss. He's not a good guy. And so, while she's going through his stuff, she finds like this weird like pager looking thing. It's never quite said what it actually is, of course, but it does activate a sort of message, a beam to this other alien. We find out it's called a Kree cleaner. And it comes down to Earth in search for what I suppose is just a tracking device. I don't know. It is kind of like a location device-y thing. So it finally makes its way to where the thing is, and it's not after Carol like you would think it would be. It's after her mom, because she was a Kree warrior who was sent to Earth for a mission, as I mentioned, but then abandoned it after she fell in love with Carol's dad and had Carol. So she's tried for high treason. It's a big fight, and there's a big explanation about Carol, like, always having been Kree, which changes her backstory quite a bit. So I can understand if people didn't much care for the story because of that, because we get attached to these backstories that characters have, and when they change, it feels like not necessarily something's being taken away from us, more that, actually maybe it is kind of like that. It does feel like something is being taken away from us a little bit. Like, these are how we identify to the characters, is like, we know all their history, know their backstories, we know their origin stories. This is what formed Captain Marvel, from this terrible, tragic bomb that almost killed her. She was given these powers because they were printed, but it's different. It's different now. It's that she's always had those powers. It's weird that she met another Kree, and like, I'm not saying that he would have known that she was Kree, because obviously, why would he? They're pretty indistinguishable from humans, at least in some cases. Some of them are blue, some of them aren't. It's a whole thing. So, moving on. So, Carol and her mom fight the cleaner after going over like this whole story, and she ends up losing her mom. Her mom dies. Like, so she loses both her parents, and like her entire worldview just is turned upside down. And it's sort of like a rebirth of a story in a way. Like, yeah, she lost her parents, and she found out something entirely new about herself, and there are questions that she needs answered that will never be answered, and that's kind of rough for a character. And then that was the end of the story. We're jumping right into a new Captain Marvel, and this one's kind of weird too, but we're not going to talk about that one. We're just talking about this. As far as the story goes, like I said, it's not my favorite, maybe because I'm part of the problem where I feel like it's something being taken away from me when they change the backstory that I've known for so long and change it into something new. But it's not a bad change, necessarily. I don't feel like betrayed, but it's interesting. I don't know that she needed the backstory rework. Maybe bomb imprintings just weren't doing it for people anymore. I don't know necessarily. But it is kind of an interesting change. She's basically only got her brother now. No mom, no dad. Her brother actually decided to go off into the world on his own. Yeah, he gets a little better. He may never walk again, but he can at least wheel himself around and think cognitively. And he's decided to go off and get his own answers, because they're not even apparently they're just related via their shared father. I don't know. He was a widower, apparently. That's how that word's pronounced. And that's it. That's the life of Captain Marvel. As I mentioned, not my favorite story, but not a bad story. Kind of like, I do like it. I love Captain Marvel. She's like my fourth favorite Marvel character. So I'm excited for this movie. I hope you all are going to see it. I know that there's a lot of people who think that Brie Larson said some things that she didn't. Congratulations on falling for the same stuff that they said about Wonder Woman before it came out. And probably the same stuff that they'll say about whatever other female superhero movie comes out. Please stop falling for these things. And yeah, that's my time. What are we going to talk about next time? I don't know. I don't have a plan. But we will definitely figure it out. Please be here for it. I appreciate every view I get. And I hope you enjoyed the video. But until next time, enjoy comics, enjoy cartoons, and I'll see you then. Bye!